Myself Maitri Dave, Assistant Professor at LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. Today we are going to discuss about labeling survey, right? So let's start our first lecture. So in today's lecture we are going to discuss about basically three topics, in which topic 1 is all about introduction of labeling, topic 2 is all about instrument used in labeling, and lastly we will discuss the temporary adjustment of dumpy label, right? So without wasting much time, let's start with our first topic, introduction of labeling. So the first question that arises in our mind is, what is labeling, right? So basically, to understand labeling, let us understand or assume this is the ground condition, right? Because if I want to start any kind of construction on plot, at that time, first the ground condition should be like this. This is the original ground condition before we start any construction. Now, if I want to construct anything over here, then at that time the first task is to label it, right? It means we have to make it on a same level. For that, I have to identify the label difference between various points. So I can say that labeling is the art of determining the relative heights or elevations of different points on or below the surface of earth, right? That is the concept of labeling. Again, I can say that labeling deals with measurement in vertical plane, right? So this is all about labeling. Now, the second question that comes in our mind, that what is the aim of labeling? Basically, there are two aims, in which the first aim is to determine the relative heights of points, right? And we can say we can determine the undulations of ground. Now, what is undulations? It means uneven surface of ground. So by knowing the level difference between 2 points, I can identify what is the actual ground condition or the undulations are present at that point, right? So that is the aim of labeling. Now let's discuss lastly the application of labeling, right? So there are various applications of labeling, in which the first application is all about the contour map. Now what is contour map? So contour map is something where an imaginary line is passing from the different points having the equal height difference, right? If I am talking about a height difference of 10 meter, then the points having the height difference of 10 meter, if we connect it with an imaginary line, then it is known as the contour line, and through this whatever the map we generate for that particular plot or area is known as the contour map. This kind of map are useful to decide the engineering site work, right? Like bridges, canals, tunnels, or any structure is considered only after taking the labeling, or we can say by preparing any contour map, right? That is the first application of labeling. Now, the second application is all about to determine the heights of point, right? That is the aim of labeling, right? Now the third application of labeling is all about to know the reduced level of different points. It means the reduced level means what? The height of that point with respect to some reference line. So that is very important to know the actual reduced level or the height difference from the reference line, right? That is the third application. Now let's understand the fourth application of labeling, which is all about to preparing the longitudinal section and the cross section of any construction. Now, longitudinal sections means what? If I talk about a road, right, and I am talking about its alignment, it means the center points or a point which is in the center of that particular road in terms of length, that is known as the alignment. And if I want to know the alignment position, then I have to go for the longitudinal section. But if I have to go for the cross section, it means 90 degree to our alignment, that is known as the cross sections, right? Now next application is all about determining quantity of filling or cutting. It means whenever I talk about the earthwork means what? Whenever we go to the field, at that time to make the plot in label, either we have to cut out the earthwork or we have to fill out that to make it in label. So that is the application of labeling. And lastly, the last application of labeling is all about to prepare layout map. So this is all about application of labeling, right? Now, you better understand what is labeling by knowing its aim application, right? Now, let's start our second topic, which is all about instruments used in labeling. So basically, two types of instruments are used, in which first is a label and second is a labeling staff. It means one instrument through which we are taking the readings and the second instrument is on which we are taking the readings, right? So let us understand first different types of labels. As I said, a label is an instrument through which we are taking the readings, and again here various types of label are available. Like the first type is known as the Y label. Here on screen you can see the construction of a Y label, right? Second type of label is a tilting label. Here again you can see the construction of tilting label. Third type of label is the automatic label. Here the readings are taken automatically, right? Next is the dumpy label. So here the construction of dumpy label is clearly shown on screen. And lastly, the Cook's reversible label, right? Now you can see on screen how different types of label have different construction, but the concept is same, to take the readings with respect to or in terms of height, right? But for now, if I talk about labeling survey, then labeling survey is all about taking labels or the height difference by using dumpy label. So we are mainly focused for dumpy label, right? So now let's understand the components of dumpy label first. Now on screen you can see this is a tripod and this is the dumpy label, right? To understand it better, let's understand its component by showing the cross sections first. Here on screen you can see a tripod stand where the legs are adjustable, so that we can adjust the height of tripod in such a way that if we put our dumpy label over it, the eyesight of a person who is going to take reading is at the same level of that dumpy label, right? So main concept of tripod stand over here is its adjustable legs, right? Second, you can see on screen that tri-bridge and tri-weight. It means there are labeling heads where two plates are parallelly adjusted, and here again you can see the foot screws are there. That foot screws are arranged in such a way that we can make or maintain our label head in such a way that the instrument is in level. It means it is properly on particular flat plane, so that whenever we take the readings, the eyesight should be at horizontal plane, right? There is no angle with the horizontal plane. It is very important to take reading at our eyesight, and through which instrument we are taking the readings, that instrument should also be in level. For that we have to utilize this foot screws, right? Then again, if you can see over here, a circular compass is used. It means whenever I have to go to field for labeling as well as angular measurement, at that time dumpy label has the provision of compass. It means simultaneously you can take reading for angular measurements also, right? So that is the provision for angular measurement. Now if you see, the main component is the telescope. Here telescope having two things. First is the eyepiece and second is the object glass. It means whenever my object is there, at that time I have to look through my eyes through the eyepiece to the object glass to the object. So that is the concept of taking the reading through the telescope. But what about the focusing screw and diaphragm? So basically this is a telescope. It means I can see an object which is at far end, but for that I have to focus it. Focusing is very important to see or visualize our object very clearly. For that focusing screw is provided, and I have to take readings, right? For that a diaphragm is given through which we are taking the accurate readings, right? That we will discuss later on in detail how this all works, right? Now lastly, you can see at the top that a longitudinal bubble and a cross bubble is provided. Here you can see these two bubbles are provided to check that whether this telescope or this dumpy level is in level or not with respect to both axes X and Y. So that's why longitudinal and cross bubbles are provided. So now you better understand the components of dumpy level, right? Okay. Now this is all about a level in which now you understand that we are going to use dumpy level on field, right? Now let's understand a leveling staff. So basically, what is a leveling staff is? So a leveling staff is a straight rectangular rod having graduation. It means marking on it. It look like this, right? So here you can see how a rectangular rod having different markings over it. Here again, the foot of the staff representing 0 reading. Now we are taking reading from 0 to the 2 meter, 4 meter, whatever the length of that particular staff, right? Next, the purpose of the level is to establish a horizontal line of sight. As I said, through telescope, you are trying to make your line of sight with respect to horizontal plane, right? So that whatever reading you are going to take, it is in a straight line, right? To this staff. Then the purpose of leveling staff is to measure the vertical distance from the ground to the line of sight. So whatever the distance we get, it is the height of that particular point, right? The purpose of the leveling staff is to determine the amount by which the station is above or below the line of sight. Now let's understand different types of leveling staff. Basically it can be of two types, in which the first one is of self-reading staff. It means it is the one which can be read directly by the instrument through the telescope, right? And now if I want to discover its different types, then the next topic is all about the types of self-reading staff. Now here on screen you can see the first type is of solid staff. It means as you see on screen, it is a single piece of 3 meter height of a staff, right? It means here the graduations are of 0 to 3 meter and a single rectangular strip is provided. That is known as the solid staff. Second type is all about the folding staff. Here you can see a staff of 2 pieces, each of 2 meter, which can be folded one over the other, as you can see on this screen, right? And the last one is the telescopic staff. It means a staff of 3 to 4 pieces with upper one solid and the lower 2-3 hollow. The upper part can slide into the central one and the central part can go into the lower parts. So each length can be pulled up and held in position by means of brass spring. The total length of 4 to 5 meter is generally provided in this kind of staff. Now the name itself says whenever I have to take reading for the far object, at that time I have to go with the telescopic staff. So for your better understanding, I can say if I go to the field for leveling survey, at that time I will go with the dumpy level and my telescopic staff. So this is all about types of self-reading staff, right? Now let's understand the second type of leveling staff, which is known as the target staff. Now what is a target staff is? So generally a target staff having a sliding target equipped with vernier. Now you know the concept of vernier, right? So generally it contains a moving target against which reading is taken by staffman. For taking readings, the levelman directs the staffman to raise or lower the target till it is bisected by the line of sight. So the staff holder then take the reading, right? So that is the concept of target staff, where the accuracy is quite higher than the self-reading staff, right? So this is all about different types of leveling staff. So now we have discussed instruments, and now let's go to the third topic for today's lecture, which is all about temporary adjustment of dumpy level. So for temporary adjustment of dumpy level, the first step should be in such a way that we have to select the suitable position for setting the level. It means we have to try to set our tripod in such a way that the maximum number of reading can be taken from that station, and we can say the ground should be in fairly level condition. If it is possible, we have to try to do selection of site in such a way, right? The second topic or the second step for adjustment is to setting up. Now, what we have to set up? We have to set up our tripod and its dumpy level. It means we have to adjust the adjustable legs of tripod in such a way that if we put the dumpy level over it, the eyesight, or we can say the telescope and the eyesight, should be in one line, right? For that, the adjustment of legs are there. As well as through the foot screws, we have to level the instrument in such a way that we can see in bubble tube that our bubble is in center. So that is all about setting up this overall instrument, including tripod and the dumpy level, right? Now, the third step is to leveling up. It means what? We have to approximately level by adjusting tripod legs. As I said earlier, in setting up, first we try approximately to level it. Every time it is not accurate, but we try our best approximately to adjust it. Second, we can do the perfect leveling by foot screws. Now, for that, what we have to do? So the first step, here you can see on screen in A and B figure. First we discuss about figure A. It means there are 3 foot screws are there. And we know the telescope having the moving or rotation feature over there. It means we can rotate our telescope, but 3 foot screws are fixed. So first task is we have to adjust our telescope parallel to any 2 foot screws. It means these are my 2 foot screws, then my telescope is in such a way, right? Then at that time I have to try to move my screws either inward or outward. I have to move both these screws either inward or outward in such a way that the bubble tube of that telescope is indicating my bubble is in center. It means we are trying to level our telescope with respect to 2 foot screws, right? After that, we rotate our telescope towards the 3rd foot screw. It means at 90 degree to these 2 foot screws. Now, if you see, there are chances that the bubble tube indicating that bubble is not in center. So now, either you can rotate inward or outward that 3rd screw in such a way that the bubble is in center. So this process shows that now bubble is in center with respect to 3rd foot screw. Again, you have to rotate our telescope at 180 degree to check that whether this bubble is in center or not. If it is in center, then it is known as the leveling up of the instrument. And if it is not in center, it means you have to do or repeat the same process to make the bubble in center, as it is known as the trial and error method for leveling up, right? So once you know it better, then you will get idea how to do with less time, right? By doing trials. Now, the 4th step is all about focusing the eyepiece. It means now you have to see through the eyepiece. But as I said, it mainly affects that at what distance or how far your next object is. You have to use focusing screw to focus your object. So that is all about focusing the eyepiece. And lastly, once you focus the object, it means now you have to take the readings through your diaphragm, but through your object glass. It is known as focusing the object glass. Here on screen you can see one person is trying to look through the eyepiece, through the object glass to the staff. It means your object where a level man is standing by holding the leveling staff. Now you know that on leveling staff the graduations are there, and now if you remember, I have used one term diaphragm in the components of dumpy level, right? Now you can see on screen that white portion containing a plus sign is known as the diaphragm, which help you to take exact or accurate reading at your eyesight on this leveling staff. So that is known as the focusing the object glass, through which you can get your reading that you are at 2 meter or 3 meter from the ground condition, or you are below the ground condition, right? So that is all about temporary adjustment of dumpy level. So in today's lecture, we have discussed mainly these three topics, or we can say the basic fundamentals of leveling, where the instruments and its temporary adjustment are the primary concern, right? I hope you all understand these three topics in detail.